random experiment, and this we have already discussed. What is random experiment? What is outcome? What is sample space? So outcome is a result of a random experiment. This sample space is a set of all possible outcomes, and event is a subset of sample space. Okay. Then union intersection you already know. Then we have discussed the three axioms of probability. So these are the three axioms of probability. So one is probability of any event is greater than equal to zero. Another one is probability of sample space is one, and third one is if you are having pairwise or disjoint. If you are having here it use the word disjoint, but we use mutually exclusive. The probability in probability theory, mutually exclusive word is more preferred as compared to disjoint. But the meaning is same. The pairwise intersection is phi. If the pairwise intersection of events is phi, then the probability of their union is equals to the sum of their probability. So this is the exams of probability. Sometimes I may ask in exam, but it's online. In offline exam, I generally ask what are the three exams of probability. But in online, I don't know what to ask. Then there are some examples. So, so for example, you have a die and you throw it, and you know that there are six facings turning up if you throw a die, and someone is asking that what is the probability of this event, and you know that in the case of a throwing of a single die, we have a sample space containing elements like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this E is a subset of that S sample space. So, and we know that in this case, we are assuming it's a fair die, and the probability of occurring 1, 2, 3, or any one is equal, and they are mutually exclusive also. It means like 1 and 2 cannot occur simultaneously. Either 1 will occur or 2 will occur. So if these are the assumption are there, they are equally likely and mutually exclusive, then because of equally likely, their probabilities are equal, and because of mutually exclusive, this sum can be written as the because or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are mutually exclusive. So it means the sum probability of the union of this is equal to the sum of their probability, and then we substitute P2 and all them equal to 1, and we will get the individual probability of each event. Now we come to this. What is E? E is 1 by 1 in 5. So we will see because 1 and 5 is also mutually exclusive. So you can write the probability of E is equals to 1 comma 5, but it's actually written as 1 union like 6 5. Like here we have written 1 union 2. So here you also write 1 union 5, and 1 and 5 are mutually exclusive. So the probability of their union is equal to sum of their probability, and then it is equals to 1 by 3. Then these results we have already proved. If you remember the earlier classes, probability of a complement is equals to this one, probability of null event is 0, probability of any event is less than equal to 1, probability of A minus B equals to probability of A minus probability of A intersection B, probability of A union B equals to this one, and probability if A is a subset of B, then the probability of occurring of A is less than equal to the probability of occurring of B, and the proofs are already discussed with you. Then there is one example. Suppose we have the following information. There are 60% chances that it will be rain today, and there are 50% chances that it will rain tomorrow, and 30% chances that it does not rain either day. So these are the three things are provided to you, and you have to find in A part of probability that it will rain today or tomorrow, in B part probability that it will rain today and tomorrow, in C part it will rain today but not tomorrow, and in C the probability that either will rain today, tomorrow but not on both the days. So we will see the solution. So we use first the what here, like A is the event that it will rain today, and B is the event that it will rain tomorrow. So if this information we have, so we can write probability of A is given 0.6, because here we are assuming A is the event that it will rain today. So 60% means 60 by 100, and you will get 0.6. In B also is 0.5, and then probability of A complement intersection B complement, because A complement it will not have occur on today, and the rain will not occur on today tomorrow. It's B complement, and the intersection means it will neither happen today or not tomorrow. So the third this one, there are 3% chances that it does not rain either day. Either day means it will not rain both the day, today or tomorrow. So these three information are provided to you. And then in first part you require this, what is the probability of A union B? Means it will rain today or tomorrow. And then you use this one, probability of A union equals to this one. If that is like, if you see what is this one, this is the result, this result, first result. Probability of A complement is equals to 1 minus probability of A. So from here you can also write like that, probability A equals to 1 minus probability of A complement. So we will use this result here, and we can say that this is like whole A, and the probability of this part is equals to 1 minus probability of its complement. That we have already proved this result, that probability of A is equals to 1 minus probability of A complement. And then because it's a complement and you have already proved the De Morgan's law for the set theory, so the A union B complement, by using De Morgan law you have A complement intersection B complement. And then also you know that what is it is given there, 0.3. So you substitute there and you will get 0.7 as the probability it will rain today or tomorrow. Now, in the second part, we have to calculate what is the probability that it will rain today and tomorrow, both the days. Then we require this PA intersection B. And this result we have already proved for union in this earlier classes, like this result. So, from in this result, we are calculating probability of A union B is equals to probability of A minus plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. So I may replace this. I will take this to the left hand side and this to the right hand side, and I will get the probability of A intersection B in this form. Probability of A intersection B equals to probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A union B. And then you have already all these values. Probability of A union B you have calculated in this step. A and B got calculated, given is there. So this is your 0.4. Now the probability that it will rain today but not tomorrow, it means probability of A my intersection B complement. And we have already proved inside theory, probability of A intersection B complement can be written as this, probability of A minus B, because these two sets are equal. A intersection B complement is equal to A minus B. And we have proved this result. The probability of A minus B is equal to probability of A minus probability of B. And probability of A is given. Probability of A intersection B already calculated in the previous step. And then finally you are having with you this one. Now you have to calculate this. The probability that am I not audible to you? Anyone? Deepak Kumar, my voice is clear to you or not? Are you there?
Clear, sir.
Clear. Okay. It means it's a problem with your and Mr. Nagaraju Banot. Okay. You check your internet connectivity.
Okay, sir.
So we have this situation now. The probability that it either will rain today or tomorrow, but not both days. So what you are expecting, A minus B means A intersection B complement. It means it will occur today, but not tomorrow. And B minus A means B intersection A complement. It means it occur tomorrow, but not today. But what we want, either this happen or this happen. It means we are expecting A minus B complement union B minus A complement. And since A minus B and B mi- A minus B and B minus A are mutually exclusive, so the probability of their union is actually equal to the sum of their probability. And we have already calculated in the previous step probability of A minus B, so that probability we can put from there. Here we need to calculate what is probability of B minus A. So the probability of B minus A, again we use the same definition, but the result, probability of B minus A is equals to probability of B minus probability of A B intersection A, and we have this situation. So this is the probability of A intersection B complement union B intersection A complement. It means either it will happen today or tomorrow, but not on the both the days. And then this union rule can be increased to more number of events, like probability of A union B union C is equals to probability of A union plus probability of B plus probability of C, then minus of A intersection B A intersection C, and then plus. In general, this is the format. If you have more than three events, so you can write like this. So I already told you what is countable. So you know that if there exists a one on map from the set of natural number to a given set, then the given set is said to be a countable. And if we are having a countable set or our outcome from any sample, any experiment is countable, then we have used discrete probability models, and on the basis of that we will assign probability. So we have two types of cases. One is continuous kind of model in which we are having events as an a subset, event as an interval. Like when we're talking about the life of a bulb. So life of a bulb is it starts from 0 to infinite also, and it will fuse also 0 to 1 hour also. So this interval is required. So that one is known as continuous probability model. But if our experiments are like that, our outputs are discrete kind of, then we have a discrete kind of model, and that is based on the this countable set theory. If our set output sample space is countable, then it means that our probability model is discrete. And countable, it means one onto map from the set of natural number to the given set. And it means that we are assigning, or we are able to, or like we can arrange elements like this: S1, S2, S3. So what we mean by that, like the natural number 1 going to S1, natural number 2 going to S2, natural number 3 going to S3. So it means like we are arranging our elements in such order. If we are able to provide such an indexing S1, S2, S3, S4, then the set is countable. So it means if it is countable, we always able to write like this. So we have here assume that this is my S is my the sample space. Now if A is a subset of an event, so this is obviously we have defined event like that. Event is a subset of a sample space. So we have chosen A as our event from the sample space. Now, if I want to know what is the probability of this event A, so this event A may contain few S like maybe it will contain S1, S2 only, S1, S2, S3 only, or maybe whole S also. So we are able to write like this: Sj belongs to A. We will select only those Sj's which are belonging to A. And in discrete kind of models, we are assuming that they are mutually exclusive. Either S1 occur or S2 or S3, not both of them occur. So it means these all Sj which are belonging to the set A, they are mutually exclusive. So it means the probability of their union is actually the probability of their sum. So we will check all the Sj belonging to A, find their probability, and add them. We will get the probability of A. So, for example, we have this example. I play a gambling game in which I will win k minus $2 with the probability of 1 upon 2 raised to power k, where k is a natural number. Okay. अभी ना क्लास चल रही है थोड़ी देर से कॉल करूंगा. Okay. So with the probability 1 by 2, I lose $1. So you can see here, na, like in a I play a gambling game in which I will win k minus $2 with the probability 1 by 2 raised to power k for any integer, sorry, any natural number. This kind of symbol, in like international notation, they use this kind of n, so n and then double the slant line. So this symbol is used for the set of natural numbers. So natural number, it means it starts from 1. So for k equal to 1, you can say k equal to 1, it is 1 by 2 raised to power 1. And here I am having 1 minus 2, it means minus 1. That means here the word lose is there. I lose $1 with the probability uh, this one. Then for k equal to 2, because the next natural number, Subham and Dharampal, be careful. It is not the time to enter in the class. So here we having this 1 upon 2 raised to power k. And if I am using k equal to 3, it means 1 upon 2 raised to power 3. 2 raised to power 3 means 1 by 8. And I win $1. Okay. Because here k is 3 and 3 minus 2 is 1. So if I choose k equals to 4 as a natural number, it means 1 upon 2 raised to power 4. It means 2 raised to power 4 means 16. So 1 by 16. And 4 minus 2 is actually $2. So this is the way we go up to infinity. So it means for every natural number, I am having some winning probability. So it means there are infinitely many outcomes, but they are all countable. And for each of them, I have to generate some probability distribution. So here we have what is the probability that I win more than or equal to $1. This question first. Okay, this is and is there, and less than $4. So what is the probability that I win more than $2? So two questions are there. We will solve them. So here, this is the question like Akshay Yadav. This is not the time to join the class. Next time I forcefully will not allow you to join the class, and I'll also mark absent. So, but here I'm talking this one. Okay. So what is the output? This like whatever I am winning, na. This one is the output. I win $2, $3. So this one is the output. So I lose $1. It means my output is minus $1. Then I will win $0. So 0. Then I will $1, 1. 2, 3 like this. So this is my sample space. Any one of them will occur. If I play the game, either I will win -$1. -$1 win means it I losing. But and either I will get this 0 or 1 or 2, but one of them I will get. So this is the output of the gambling game. So this is my sample space. Now the question is, what is the probability that I win more than or equal to $1 and less than $4? So you will see this. First we assign the probability. So probability is already given here, 1 upon 2 raised to power k for a natural number. So we will see like this, probability of k is equal to probability of k 1 upon 2 raised to power k plus 2. Why I have written like this? Earlier this k is going to belong to this natural number. Now this k is belonging to my the sample space S. So it means for each and every individual outcome, I have to assign a probability. And from this discussion, I know that for k equal to -1. Now this k is belonging to this self S, and for k equal to -1, this is my probability 1 by 2. Okay. And for k equal to 0, the probability is 1 by 4. And for k equal to 1 is 1 by 2 raised to power 1 plus 2. For k equal to 2, the probability is 1 by 2 raised to power 2 plus 2. That means 2 raised to power 4. And for k equal to 3, 1 by 2 raised to power 3 plus 2, that is 2 raised to power 5. So it means the probability of any sample point is actually 1 upon 2 raised to power k plus 2, where k belongs to x. So this is the way I defined my probability. Now I check first whether it is a probability measure, because probability of total sample space is always 1. So we will check this one. So here I am taking the summation from -1, because this S containing -1 as an event until goes infinity. And then probability of K. And we know that any one of them will occur. All of them will not occur simultaneously. So they are mutually exclusive. That's why this probability is actually sum of these individual probabilities. And then I substitute the probability formula pk equals to 1 upon 2 raised to power k. And then I expanded this summation by substituting k equal to -1, 1, 2 up to infinity, and I will get this one. And I know that this is a geometric series. And if you remember your 10th or 12th, you know that the sum of the geometric series like this, because here a is 1 by 2 and common ratio is also 1 by 2. And then you use your formula for calculating infinite sum, and then you will get the 1. So it means this probability measure I define is actually a satisfying the axiom 3. Now let us define A is the event that I win more than 1 or equal to $1 and less than $4. So it means win more than or equal to 1. So more than equal to 1, it means 0 and -1 will be excluded. Either I will win 1 or 2 or anything. But there is and is there. So due to the and, I have to earn less or win less than $4. So it means 3. So the A is the event I win more than or equal to $1 and less than $4. So this is A event. Now what is B event? The second question. Second question is, what is the probability that I win more than $2? So this is the second question. What is the probability that I win more than $2? So $2 means more than $2, not equal to. More than $2 means 3, 4, 5, and up to infinity. I can win anything. So in first case, probability of A is equal to this one. And again, I am using the third axiom of probability, because either one happen or two happen or three happen. So they are mutually exclusive. Then the probability of their union is equal to the probability of their sum. And individual probability I can calculate by using this formula 1 upon 2 raised to power k plus 2, and then by substituting supplying the value of k, like k equal to 1, k equal to 2, k equal to 3, I will get 1 by 8 plus 1 by 16, 1 by 32, and then I will finally get this one. Now for the part B, or second, B equal to 3, 4, 5, then the probability of B is equal to this one. And again I use the definition of probability here, this one, and substitute k equal to 3, 4, 5, I will get this one. And here first term is 1 by 32 and common ratio is like 1 by 2. So if you take this 1 by 16 common from this series, you will get the series like this earlier. And it means the sum of that one is 1. So you will get 1 by 16 as your sum. So this is the probability of occurring of B. So, and here you know this geometric sum and all that. I assume that you know how we can add infinitely a geometric series. Okay, here this is a given. Like if you are having a geometric series, this the sum of first n terms is given by this a into 1 minus x raised to power n upon 1 minus x. And if x is less than 1, because here our common ratio x is 1 by 2, which is less than 1, then we can also calculate this infinite sum, and then this infinite sum is 1 a upon 1 minus x. Again, we have one example. I roll a fair die twice and obtain two numbers. X1 is the result of first roll, X2 is the result of second roll. Write down the sample space S, assuming that all the outcomes are equally likely. And find the probability that of the event A defined as the events that x1 plus x2 equals to 8. So here I am having two numbers. So one is x1, the result of first roll, and x2 is the result of second roll. So we'll see. So if we rolled two dice one by one, so we'll get this kind of output. In first die we may have one, or in second also one, or in first we have three, and in second we are having six. So these are the two possible number of outcomes when we are rolling two dice. So they are, if you count, they are 36. And now we have to find the probability of the event that x1 plus x2 equals to 8. So here cardinality of the sample space is 36. To find the probability of A, we all need to find this, the favorable number of cases with A, and A is x1 plus x2 equals to 8. So we have to find those pairs for which x1 plus x2 equals to 8, and we find that these are 2, 6, 3, 5, 4, 4, 5, 3, 6, 2. And the cardinality of A is 5, and then you can use this definition 5 by 36. Then we have continuous models. So this one is your friend tells you that will stop, she will stop you, she will stop by your house sometime after or equal to 1 p.m. and before 2 p.m. But she cannot give you any more information as her schedule is quite hectic. Your friend is very dependable, so you are sure that she will stop by your house. But other than that, we have no information about the arrival time. Thus, we assume that the arrival time is completely random in 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the interval, as we will see. So this is uniformly distribution. This we will talk about later. What is uniform distribution? So here let T be the arrival time. So what is the sample space? First we need to identify what is the probability that P is equals to 0.1.5. That it will come within the interval 1 to 1:30 p.m. And what is the probability? This one T belongs to this one. And then this for A greater than equal to 1 less than equal to B. And what is the probability of this one? So we'll see the solution. Since any real number 1 to 2 is possible outcomes, so the sample space is this one. Now, let us look at p equals to 1.5. A reasonable guess would be 0. Okay, this is the case when I already told you that when someone in continuous time of model, if someone asks you the probability of exact time, then this probability is always 0. So no one can because if we give something to this probability, then it will disturb our probability model, because there are uncountably infinite discrete point like this 1.5, 1.55, 1.555, 1.555, and if you give any one of them single 0.001 also, but they, you have to add them like infinitely many times, and then your total sum will be infinite, and that will be a problem. So in such a cases, we always assume that the probability of this kind of event is always equal to 0. Now we see the what is the probability of this interval p 1 to 1.5. So here in the continuous type of models, we always having our event is a sub-interval of the sample space. So this is the first half of the entire sample space S, and because of the uniformity, its probability must be 0.5. In other words, like this. And then because these two events are again this event and this event, we are taking as mutually exclusive because nothing is common in between them, because either here we have open interval on 1.5 and here we have closed interval on 1.5. So this is both of them are mutually exclusive. So the probability of their union, and their union is actually the interval 0 to 2, oh, sorry, 1 to 2. That is the whole sample space, and the sample space probability 1. And then we are assuming we are uniformly distributed. It means they have equal probability like this. If you remember the last class, I told you that in continuous kind of distribution, if the length of the interval are same, then their probability are equal. So here, like the length of the interval is zero point 0.5, zero point 0.5 in both the cases. So we are getting this as a 1.2. The same uniformity argument suggested that the all interval in 1.2 have the same length must have the same probability. In particular, the probability of an interval is proportional to its length. So if like earlier they were asked the probability of A minus B, it means the probability of B minus A. If A is lying between 1 and 2. Because here again the length of the interval is zero point 0.5, so zero point 0.5 is the probability. So we have some solved examples. So you all see these all these solved examples, and I will ask one of them. Then we have this conditional probability. So in this conditional probability, we already discussed this one also. And this is the definition: the probability of A condition B. It means the you have information probability of occurring of A when B has already occurred is the probability of A intersection B divided this one. Actually, you neglect this cardinality concept till now. Just first term and the last term. Probability of A given B is equals to here they have provided in actual way. If A and B are two events in the sample space, then the conditional probability of A given B is defined by this. Probability of A given B is equals to probability of A intersection B divided by probability of A when the probability of B is greater than 0. And then what they have done, like we have already proved these kind of result for normal event like A is an event from the sample space, then we have proved that the probability of A is equals to, or the probability of A complement is equal to 1 minus probability of A. So all of these results we have to prove for the conditional probability, like probability of A complement, given that C has already happened with the probability of C is greater than 0. So probability of A complement C given C is equal to 1 minus probability of A given C. So it means like the result is same, this conditional thing will occur. Similarly, probability of empty event is 0 there, here also there. So probability of whether C happen or not, the probability of null event is always 0. With conditional C is again 0. Again there we have proved that probability of A is less than 1. So here also probability of A given C is less than equal to 1. Then there we have proved that probability of A minus B. That one is equal to probability of A minus probability of A intersection B. But if we have condition, so here you think that this A minus B is in bracket and then we have given C. So it's like that probability of A given C minus probability of A intersection B given C. Similarly, the result for this union also, probability of A union B given C is equals to probability of A given C plus probability of B given C minus probability of A intersection B given C. And if A is a subset of B, then probability of A given C is less than equal to probability of B given C. So that one is also, so all the results are similar to earlier. So you have to prove these results with the help of this definition of conditional probability and the result earlier results. So you try all these proofs by your own. For example, I think I have assignment earlier classes also this one. In earlier classes also I have given this as an assignment. So I will show you one proof. So here we have result that for any three events A, B, C with probability C greater than 0, prove that probability of A complement C is equal to 1 minus probability of A given C. And like this we have to prove other results. So I will give the proof of first one, probability of A given C. If you remember, the definition of conditional probability is probability of A intersection C divided by probability of C. This is the definition of conditional probability. Now probability of A complement C can be written as C complement A, and we know that from the set theory, A intersection B complement is actually A minus B. So here C intersection A complement is equals to C minus A divided by probability of C. And the probability of C minus A, if we remember the earlier result for a normal event, It is actually probability of C minus probability of C intersection A. That is the previous result. And then we have divided by probability of C. So if we divide probability of C by probability of C, because probability of C is given not greater than 0, is greater than 0, so it is 1 for the first term, and the second term we have probability of C intersection A. And then again here you can use your definition of conditional probability. Actually, it is actually probability of A given C. So this is the idea to prove all these kind of results. And I may ask in exam, like one of them maybe. Earlier I used to ask, right for this, I don't know for online what we will do. So this is the glimpse of the idea. You can see this idea, and on the basis of this idea, you can prove other results. Then we see next thing is okay. We are going back to that book. So after proving these results, we having this example. So in this example, I roll a fair die twice and obtain two numbers. X1 is the result of first roll, X2 is the result of second roll. Given that, I know that x1 plus x2 equals to 7. This information is with me. And now I have to calculate what is the probability that x1 equals to 4 or x2 equals to 4. So this is, I know that is a given event, and this A union B I can say, and given conditional this I have to find. So you'll see, let A be the event x1 equal to 4, B be the event x2 equal to 4. Okay, so A is the event complete like x1 equal to 4 or x2 equal to 4, and B is the given event x1 plus x2 equals to 7. And we have to calculate this probability of A given B. And we know the definition is probability of A given B is actually probability of A intersection B divided by probability of B. As this example we have already discussed, we have two dice. In the case of two dice, we having 36 possible outcomes, and out of those 36 outcomes, we can see that the 4 is coming on the first uh, place is this one, because we are expecting the x1 equals to 4, and 4 is coming on the second die is this one and this one, because this is common, so we have counted this one time. So this is the possible cases, like A happens, we say A happens, so it means any one of them happens, either 4 1 4 2 4 3 4 4 4 5 4 6 1 4, because we want either 4 on the first place or in the second place. Now we go to the second conditional event which is already happened, B. B is x1 plus x2 equal to 7, and if we see all the possible outcomes, we can see that B is this one, either the 6 1 5 2 4 3 3 4 2 5 1 6. So we have already identified both the events A and B, and now we calculate what is A intersection B. So these are the A intersection B. Again, in the throwing of two dice, all events are, we can say, mutually likely, and so the probability of this is actually 2 by 36, probability of A intersection B, and probability of B. Here again we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So B is having 6 mutually exclusive events. So the probability of the sum, and that is probability of B is actually 6 by 36. And we have substituted all these values in this formula, and we will get the probability that this is A given B is 1 by 3. Then we have independence event. I already told you the independent event that two events are said to be independent if the probability of A intersection B is equals to probability of A into probability of B. Okay. Or other ways you can say like this: probability of A given B is probability of A. That is, happening of B does not affect the probability of occurring of B or A. So probability of A given B is equals to probability of A. It means A and B are independent. Or probability of A intersection B is equals to probability of A probability of B. Then again we say that they are independent. And we can prove this result by using the definition of conditional probability. This is the definition of conditional probability. And this. Now what we are having is this. So it is a more generalization like if two events are independent, then this. If three events are independent, pairwise independent, like then we say that probability of this, and like if we have n number, then we have this probability of A1, probability of A2, probability of it means all AIs, A1, A2, AN are independent to each other. Then we have law of total probability. So the law of total probability is this one. I think I have already discussed the definition of partition. And if I suppose capital B1, capital B2, and capital B3 are the partition of a given sample space N, then the occurring of any event A is actually equals to probability of this. Summation I goes to A given Bi, probability of Bi. So if you know that this is the concept of partition, like we have to select any B1, B2, B3 or Bn also, such that they are mutually exclusive. They have nothing in common. Like Bi intersection Bj is empty for I not equal to j. Also their union, that is if I take the totality of their union like B1 union B2 union B3, then it becomes a sample space. So this is the definition of partition. You can check earlier result also, and Google is always there. Okay. Now we have this probability of A equals to summation I goes to, we have to prove this one. The probability of any event A, because if I say event A happened, so it may intersect any one of them or more than one of them or all of them. It actually will depend on the choice of A. So A is occurring from the sample space, and what I have to find the probability of A in terms of these partitioned events B1, B2, B3. Okay. So here we prove that result. So the proof of that result is this one. As the B1, B2, B3 is a partition of the sample space, this means their union actually S, because this is the definition of partition. Okay. Now I take A intersection with S. So A intersection S means again A, because A is a subset of S. If you take a small set intersection with bigger set, then you will get the small set as it is. So A intersection S is always equal to A. Now I substitute the value of S. S is actually union of these BI, because BI is a partition. Now I can distribute this intersection over all these union. So I will get this one. And now I take the probability to both sides of this, because this A is actually equal to this one. If two sets or two events are equal, it means their probability are also equal. So I applied the probability measure to both of the sides. Now this is AI, BI. Okay. And now here you can see that I told you that B1, B2, B3 are a partition of the sample space. So partition means their union is equal to S and their intersection is 5. It means B1 intersection B2 is 5 and B2 intersection B3 is again 5. If B1 intersection B2 is 5, so what you say about A intersection B1 intersection with A intersection B2? What you say about this? If I am giving you A intersection B1 intersection B2 is 5, what you say about A intersection B1 and A intersection B2? About these two events? What you say? Anyone of you can guess what is the value of A1 intersection B1 intersection with A intersection B2? Okay. So we'll see this one. Okay. So this is the result we are actually proving. Law of total probability. Here it is given that B1, B2, Bn are a partition of the sample space. Then for any event A subset of S, we have this one. We have to prove this. So here we have given that this B1, B2, Bn is a partition of S. So obviously their union I'm talking about is S and their pairwise intersection is 5 for all I not equal to J, ranging from 1 to n. And I know that A is a subset of S, so it means A is actually A intersection S because S is a bigger set and A is a subset of S. Then I use the definition of S because S is the B1, B2, Bn are the partition, so it means S can be written as the union of these partition events. Then I distributed this intersection over union, I will get this one because now intersection go inside and union goes outside like this. And because now this set A is equal to this set, so the probability measure I can apply this and this. Now, as I'm telling you that BI intersection BJ is 5, so I am asking you what is B1 intersection A is an event because here it is B1 intersection A. Again, B2 intersection A is another event. So, is B1 intersection A disjoint with B2 intersection A? Obviously, they are disjoint because B1 intersection A is a subset of B1 and B2 intersection A is a subset of B2. If the larger set B1 and B2 are not having common, how their subsets can have something common? So you can see here, as A intersection BI is a subset of BI, and A intersection BJ is a subset of BJ, and BI and BJ are not having common something. They are nothing having common. So if BI and BJ are not having something common, so it means their subsets, these two are also having nothing common. So it means their intersection is 5. And this is true for all I not equal to j. It means whatever B1 intersection A, B2 intersection A, and Bn intersection A are present there, they are actually mutually exclusive. Because their larger sets B1, B2, Bn are mutually exclusive. So being a subset, they are also mutually exclusive. So being mutually exclusive, the probability of these unions is actually the sum of their probability, like this one. And then I index this summation because like this sum can be written as in terms of summation. I goes to 1 to n pbi intersection A. And then I use the definition of conditional probability. Conditional probability says that probability of A given bi is actually probability of bi intersection A divided by probability of bi. So it means I can write like this because this is the definition of conditional probability. And I use this definition of conditional probability to get this one. Once I get this one, I substitute this thing here and I will get this result. So this is the way I prove the law of total probability. Okay, so I think time is over and it is enough for you. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is 26. We will meet again on 27. So now I'll take this attendance. So roll number 9, Bonnie, ECE, are you there? Okay. Then Anas Khan.
Present, sir.
Okay.